There are very few moments in life that we can remember in detail, but when we hear the date September 11th, we can remember exactly where we were 10 years ago. Whether you were at work, home, or in New York City, we all have stories to share about how this unforgettable day unfolded.
I was traveling along the Pennsylvania Turnpike with a friend of mine. We were coming back from a trip out west. And we were just east of Pittsburgh on the Turnpike, and we saw an awful lot of state police vehicles traveling east. And that was not usual. And so we turned the radio on, and then we started hearing the reports of the crash.
I work in a hotel, hospitality management, and there was a couple who was trying to get on their cell phone because their son works in one of the buildings. And for some reason, they couldn't get out on their cell phone. And because the cell is in New York, so I let them use my cell phone so they can check and see if their son was okay. And it turned out he got out and he was okay. So it really impacted me.
I was actually teaching a class that day and was discussing an assignment with my students. And a colleague came through my classroom and quietly informed me that we were under attack.
I was attending a conference and was in the World Trade Center Marriott Hotel, which is between the two towers. And my wife was up in the 10th floor. And I was at a breakfast meeting listening to the president of Morgan Stanley talk about international economic affairs. And the initial sound we heard was a tinkling of the chandeliers overhead. And I turned to this side. Then I heard another noise, a little muffled. I turned this way, and then I heard a big thud. And the fellow who sat opposite to me looked at me, and my pupils went completely black. It was a classic fight or flight. And we all rose up. There were probably about 300 to 400 of us in the audience, and went into the lobby of the Marriott Hotel. And the Marriott staff said, "Don't go outside because there's stuff falling down. We don't know what happened." And when it looked like it was apparent that we could go outside, then we exited through the long boat or Long Keys bar that they have there and went out. And I was outside on the phone and looked up, and the second plane hit.
I walked in the room. I had the morning show on, the news program. And I walked past the television and I seen a fire in the building. I didn't know at that time what building it was or anything. I thought a plane hit the building by accident. So shortly after that, it seemed like I found myself in front of the television watching it, and then another one, I seen it go around the building and hit the other building. And then, as the day goes by, you hear all these other things that were going on. It was just a terrible day.
I was in my third month of infantry basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia. We heard about it from our drill sergeants. We're not exactly allowed to watch TV or read the newspaper on a daily basis, so you kind of hear it as it's happening. We were on a rifle range, learning how to fire this machine gun as part of our training, and then we get called into a group of soldiers, and they tell us that this is happening. And it was early in the morning after the first plane hit the tower in New York. So they were very slow to introduce us into it because we had to be that group who was going to go.
10 years later, our nation has come together to commemorate the brave actions of those fallen. When walking the streets of Lower Manhattan, there is a sense of renewal, and the completion of the One World Trade Center is becoming a reality. 200 miles south of Ground Zero lies another timeless memorial of remembrance. Here at the Pentagon, symbolism inside begins for visitors as soon as they enter the memorial. Each bench here is arranged in a timeline based on the age of the victims, beginning with the youngest at age 3. And finally to the landscape memorial tucked away in rural Pennsylvania. Located in Shanksville sits an open field that marks the crash of Flight 93.
Every time I go to Pittsburgh, I don't have the heart to pass this. I have to stop.
This plane crashing here had a response and a reaction from a community that had already been established as a response in a community prior to the events. These people know how to interact and build a site. They know how to take care of it.
9/11 not only had an impact on each and every one of us, but it transformed America as a nation.
As a society, I think we are more aware of each other and our unity as a country. So I think it's impacted all of us in a lot of positive ways, and but it's also taken a lot of heartfelt reflection, and I think we all feel a little like we've lost a lot of friends.
It continues to remind me that things like this still can happen, and we need to be vigilant and participate in programs to prevent these types of things. And also when you go to the airport and you have to go through the TSA activities, on one hand it's an inconvenience, on the other hand this helps you to remember why things like that are necessary these days.
A decade later, and with time continuing to pass, we will never forget the true heroes of that life-altering day.
I don't know if I could have been as brave as they were. I think I don't know if I could have been as brave as they were.
Quite interesting to be at the place where, you hear these stories of very brave people, and you're this young guy who's got to be brave and strong to do the job you're trained to do, because you're soon going over there. That I get to return there as an educated individual, and as a soldier or veteran, and all that had come to this 10-year fruition. I wouldn't be the man I am today if I wasn't inspired by these people.
Heroes, nothing less.
And President Obama plans to visit each of the memorial sites in New York, the Pentagon, and Pennsylvania on September 11th to mark the 10th year anniversary. Reporting from the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, I'm Lauren McMillen.